IUL that you mentioned earlier. And I think that that's a really interesting play, especially if there's a longer time horizon for your children or your descendants to be able to fund that policy up to a certain point, and then it just continues to grow and it gives them leverage outside of your estate or what you're going to pass them to have liquidity when they want to do something, whether it's buy a home or pay for their college or start a business, make some other investments. Do you see that that is a common thing with high net worth individuals using that specific product, or there's some other options as well?
Yeah, we see that. We see whole life as well equally. In our industry, there seems to be a lot of headbutting over whole life, universal life. I think they're different tools
Yes.
in the toolbox, and it really comes down to what's best going to serve that client's wants and needs and their time horizon. I have some index universal life insurance policies on my boys, and I have some whole life policies on my boys. They are there to do different things. Those whole life policies are infinitely more liquid now, but the roll up on those policies down the road, if they don't need that liquidity, is not nearly as great as the index universal life. And so we do a little bit of both for them.
Yeah. So if you're looking for liquidity sooner, you wanted to borrow against the cash value in the policy, say within the next 24 months, probably better to do a whole life policy.
It can be. It can be more secure. If you're a savvy investor and you're willing to service your own debt, because it is your own debt, you're loaning yourself your own money out of your policy, and you can do that at 0% interest if you want to.
Oh, wow.
But when we do that, that can affect policy performance. And in those IULs, those early years, we need policy
You
performance.
need compounding. You have to have, yeah.
So if I'm going to use the money in early years and I'm willing to service my own debt, I'm willing to charge myself 5 points on my own money so that that policy can stay healthy, then I have no issue with it. But if I have a client who's not willing to do that, then I think whole life is a better option.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. The people that we're working with, again, they probably want access to liquidity sooner than later off of their investments, and they want to, structure things and mitigate taxes. So I think a lot of people, the matriarch or patriarch, probably are going to set up more of a whole life policy. And then if you have a longer time horizon for when somebody's going to need liquidity, the IUL probably makes a little more sense, unless you're willing to underwrite that debt, like you said.
Yeah, and there's some other considerations as well. The IUL is infinitely more flexible. We can increase it, decrease it, do all sorts of things. The whole life policy, once we set it, it's locked in. That's the contract. So we can't do much from there. So if we need flexibility, then we look more towards a universal life product. The whole life product, because it's not linked to any markets, it's an unlinked asset. Banks love whole life.
IUL that you mentioned earlier. And I think that that's a really interesting play, especially if there's a longer time horizon for your children or your descendants to be able to fund that policy up to a certain point, and then it just continues to grow.